Just also, I can just obviously ask about John, initially the injury and how much obviously the blow that is to your plans this season.
Yeah, I think the only other one recently we've come across with that pec injury is Emma Phillips, and he took 12 weeks to recover from surgery. So, no injury is good, but we were hoping it might just be a rehab injury rather than a surgical one. But unfortunately, they've had to go down the route of surgery, and that can take from 12 to 16 weeks, I'm led to believe. So, it's a big blow.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of him being the captain as well this year, that adds an extra significance, I suppose, as well as being, your star player as it.
Yeah, I think it's you lose a player of his quality from any team, and Wales will be worse off without him, as we will be. So, but unfortunately, it's part and parcel of the game, and players will pick up injuries, and unfortunately they're ones they're not preventable ones. Some injuries you can foresee probably with the good work that the physios and the conditioners do, but with something like that it happens, and there's nothing we could have done or prepared for him to get that. So it's really when it happens, it's a bit of a blow really for all concerned, and John in particular.
Does it add extra significance in the fact that he is leaving and he'll only have barely a handful of games at the end of the season possibly when he comes back? Is that extra disappointing if you won't get that full season out of him?
Yeah, I don't think it's the way it is, and no injury is good timing wise. There's nothing we can do about that, and we can't do anything about him leaving either. So it'd be great to get him back in the mix for the last couple of months of the season, but that will be purely dependent on how well he rehabs and how well he recovers from the operation and gets his strength back.
In terms of him leaving, is it almost inevitable in this climate that was going to happen?
It's difficult to keep hold of players at the moment. We are on the back foot in terms of competing against some of the sides in Europe, not just in England but in particular in France. And I think unless something is dramatically changed, I'm not sure what that can be. Another pen. What that would be, I'm not entirely sure, but it's the player drain is becoming increasingly worrying.
Scarlett's made John one of the biggest offers for Scarlets. How devastating is it? What can be done then? If you offer him the biggest offer that you possibly could, one the Scarlets have made, what can be done? What are the options?
Well, I don't know. It's a. I think it goes back to us as a Wales in general at the moment, not being able to keep all these players. You look at the players who are available to play for Wales, and available therefore to play regional rugby and not be considered as overseas or non-Welsh. There's just too many playing outside this country and outside regional rugby. So the players have a limited time in the game. We have done our very best to get to a point where we feel like we were going to make John very comfortable for the next couple of years, not compromise him and his earnings, but it's difficult to compete against some of the offers in France, and I'm not just talking a couple of £1,000 here and there. You're talking hundreds of £1,000s extra on top of what we could offer him potentially. So at the end of the day, we can go so far without compromising us being able to keep hold of a squad of players, because one player is very important, but it's important that we keep going as a region, and we can't currently afford to do that if we're throwing all our eggs in one basket. We've still got to develop, which we're doing year on year. We've seen the proof of that over the last couple of seasons, blooding youngsters. But we get to 6-7 years down the line when they're at 24, 25, 26 and they're reaching their potential and their peak, and unfortunately at the moment we haven't got the resources to keep hold of them, and that's just a fact of life. So unless things change dramatically and we can start to keep hold of these players and see the rewards of that development into their late 20s, you know, it's going to be the same every couple of years. There's going to be a turnover of players every couple of years.
It's an expectation, isn't it? It's not even a surprise now when all these offers are coming in for the big players, but for all the Welsh regions. Yeah,
we're not. You know, there's other players that we want to retain as well, and we're going to have a fight on our hands to do that. Other regions will have the same issue with all of their players who are at that level who are now out of contract.
What are your thoughts on Rhys? Do you think it would be best for him to stay here to overcome obviously his injuries and settle back into it, or would you understand if you wanted to go abroad?
I believe this is still a good environment for players, not just to still develop, but also realise their ambitions to win things. We can only take it so far, and then the players at the end of the day have got a decision to make between the rugby and the potential of what that might be elsewhere, and also the financial benefits of playing outside Wales, and players take different views, and that's outside my control. I still believe that we have an excellent environment here for those players to still develop, but also if we can keep those players together, that they can actually be competitive and win things here. You know, some people might disagree with me, but that's my opinion, and those are the conversations that I've had with those players that I want to retain.
There's obviously been speculation, Simon, linking with Regan with a return here. Is he someone who might be in your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, he's one of several players that obviously since John notified of his intention not to stay on here and not to re-sign. You know, we're fully aware, having not just played with Regan but also played against him, the quality of him. So he, along with another probably 2 or 3 players that we've looked at in depth over the last couple of weeks since we've been told about John's departure. And there's still a little bit to go before we can get a decision on that replacement.
Right. But you've been speaking to Regan, is that fair?
Yeah, it's fair, yeah.
Because I would say, if he did manage, as you mentioned, a quality player, someone coming back of his calibre into a squad with what he can offer, that'd be a huge boost. Yeah,
I think any side would jump at the chance of a player of his quality, and you know, Claremont have a particularly aggressive and well thought after recruitment policy, and that's why they took Regan over there a couple of years ago, and you know, that's why they decided to take John, you know, into his prime as well.
On the subject of signings, Fraser Claremont, how are we going to see it?
Yeah, he'll play this weekend, and you know, I think the first week was all about getting his feet on the ground after his travelling, and getting him up to speed in the calls and the systems, and he's an intelligent rugby player anyway, and that's probably one of the things that attracted us to him. He can play across the back line, and he's pretty comfortable now this week in what we're doing. He's had a full week's run in, so we'll see him on Sunday.
Where? In what position?
In the back 3, but most likely on the wing.
Right. To
start with. You know, as I say, he is comfortable probably playing at 15 wing or 10.
Yeah.
But probably our needs at the moment are on the wing.
Right. Encouraged by last weekend?
There was some good stuff. You know, we've been affected slightly by international call-ups, not unsimilar to other regions, but in particular the front row, with a couple of hookers away and now 4 tight heads away as well. So Deacon obviously injured, Horatio with Romania, and the 2 boys up in Cardiff with the national side. So you know, we're we've been tested there like other regions have, and we've got to manage that, and again it'll be a chance for us to push through and expose some of the youngsters to a high level of rugby when we go to Saracens.
In terms of Saracens, what is the challenge of playing obviously one of the top sides in England, plus their venue as well, I suppose? Something
the venue wise, not many players have played on that surface, so we trained up in Cardiff on Tuesday, and that was beneficial, I think, just for the players to get used to it, so they're not turning up on Sunday thinking, what the hell is this? But it was good. It was doesn't seem to be a massive reaction from training on there for about an hour and 10 minutes, so about a 70-minute session. You know, I think it's different, I suppose. In a game you are impacting the body a bit more, but hopefully they'll come through it. And Saris are pretty strong this year. You know, they're able to rest players, lose players with international competitions, and also pick a pretty strong side against Wasps last weekend and win away from home. So they're a pretty big challenge for us, and certainly for some of the younger elements of our squad on the weekend, it's going to be a big test. But these are the games I feel that are important for that development. We've seen players in the past come through these games and kick on and make real impact in our region. So this next 2 weeks, last week and this week, are no different. We've got to be mindful of what's coming up. We've got the next 10 games. We've got 7 away from home. So it's a big couple of months for us. So it's managing the players' time over the next this last week and this week, but also getting players game time and exposing some players to a high level of rugby, which is could be testing for them. But
so there won't be any of the boys you rested last week likely to come back, the likes of you rested Phil, Josh.
Not many of them. There will be a couple, but not necessarily starting. But there'll be a couple that might be involved. So we were away in Connacht, so we were a Friday flight. You know, we were a bit of a shorter turnaround. With it being a Sunday game, it does impact the following week a little bit. So just be mindful of that, and we've been mindful of that in selection.
And no injuries from last weekend. No one ruled out.
No, we were really good actually. We had a couple of bumps. I think Craig Price took a bump to the head, so he's been under surveillance this week a little bit.
And available this weekend?
No, he's not available. Not but available. Other than that, we're pretty good. Yeah, pretty good.
Okay. Just a couple on the surface. How did the players react to playing on the new surface, the artificial?
They were fine. Yeah, let's say no impact really. No complaints afterwards. It's obviously a good service for guys that can run well and step and change direction, which you probably don't get this time of year when it's wet and muddy and I think it was a good day's training. We'll see now on Sunday if it has any benefit for the game.
Expecting a quicker game because of the surface?
I think it can do that. I think it can quicken things up a little bit. But you expect probably players with that kind of footwork and players with a little bit more speed to probably run on top of the ground a bit more and not feel like they're treading water a little bit like they do sometimes when the conditions start to deteriorate. So I think it's a good thing. When we'll go there with an open mind, and I'm not saying that we're going to have it here, but the Blues seem to have reacted pretty well to their pitch, and we're pretty happy with our pitch here. It's gone really well this year, and it's held up well, and there's no reason why we would want that service. But if it's there to play on, then we've got to go with an open mind and make sure that we don't use that as an excuse.
This time of year obviously is a great test to the depth you've got in the squad. How do you see the depth you have at the moment?
We've spoken about it earlier, but in certain positions, there's no doubt we've got to start to expose some players and try and see if we can go through our Premiership system, which is very, very effective for us in producing and getting players up to a level. But then when they come to us, it's another step up. LV, Rabo, and then Heineken. So it's a good it's a good position to be in terms of actually saying, we're going to expose these players and we'll give them opportunities. Like I said, in the past, we've come through the other side and players have actually gone, I can do this, and we've been impressed with them, and they've gone on and won contracts and got, ended up playing regional rugby and beyond. So it's a good competition, and our depth at the moment in certain positions is really good. In certain positions it could be better, but that's what this next couple of weeks, or last week and this week, has been about for me, is trying to get players game time, but also seeing what depth and of strength we've got in certain positions in the squad, and you're not going to have that throughout the squad and across the board all the time, but the more we can get these players training with us and then playing, then hopefully there'll be benefit from it.